Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Middle guy back again. And today I want to talk about Joe Rogan exposing Kamala Harris's campaign's lies about her doing the interview with him. I know there was big onus put on this about her not doing it, and I think this really cost her campaign. But see, on the flip side, if she would have done it, she would have lost by more because people would have seen how incompetent she was and how she can't just be a regular person and carry on an actual conversation. Trump got over 50 million views in the interview with Rogan. So that just shows you the exposure that brought him, and that probably got a lot of the younger voters to vote for him as well, especially a lot of the young undecided voters. While Kamala ran, Kamala, however you want to say her name, while she ran from interviews, and when she finally did sit down to do interviews, she completely melted like an ice cube on a hot sidewalk. It was just sad to watch, honestly. She was horrible in her interviews. But anyway, let's get into this here from Joe Rogan.
Experience.
I guess it's probably a good time to talk about this. There was a thing that came out recently. There was a book. There was some book about the Kamala Harris campaign where they talked about her getting on this show. And they said a bunch of things that weren't true. They talked to
Shocker.
Supposedly talked to like 150 different people about her and what happened with her coming on the show. I don't know if it's 150. A lot of people. They didn't talk to us, and which is kind of crazy. And
Which is not surprising at all. Why would they go to the actual source and get facts? They don't want that.
They didn't even ask. But they said things that just weren't true. One of the things they said that weren't
That's all they do. That was her whole campaign.
true was that we lied about the day that Trump was coming on. No, we just didn't tell you that Trump was coming on. He was already booked.
Yeah, it's his show. He can fucking keep shit secret if he wants to. He doesn't have to tell you who's coming on his show or who he's interviewing. That's not his responsibility.
Booked a long time ago. This is how it worked. Trump was really easy to book. Like super easy.
Shocker.
We offered one day. He said yes. That was it. There was no what
That's all you need to do. That's how it should be handled.
are we going to talk about? How long is it going to be? Is it going to be edited? There was nothing. What's the waiver? Here, give me that waiver. Sign it. It was so easy. So he was already booked. They never committed to doing the show. So all this talk, there was another thing they said that the reason why they did the Beyonce thing,
Because they thought it was going to get them votes. That's why. That's how desperate she was. She paid Beyonce $10 million to show up and talk for like 3 minutes. And then everybody left her rally after that. It's the only reason she had Beyonce is to get people there. And then everyone left when Beyonce left because they were told she was going to perform. And she didn't perform. $10 million for 3 minutes. Where do I get that gig?
Beyonce event in Houston was so that they could be in Texas to do my show. They never agreed to do the show. None of that's true. They never agreed.
That's fine.
They also said that they sent someone down here to the studio to do a walkthrough of the set. That's not true. The Trump administration did. I mean, if they are trying to say that they, as in the entire federal government, well, I don't think the Trump, well, I guess the Secret Service is a part of the federal government. Maybe you can kind of get away with saying that because the Secret Service came down here for Trump and looked around that we sent someone down, but it was not. It was the Trump administration sent it down because they're the only ones that had a date to do the show. These people didn't have a date to do, they never agreed to do the show. This is really important.
It's sad that they lied so bad and they're getting exposed because Joe Rogan gives no fucks. He'll just speak the truth. He doesn't care.
Even after Trump went on, they offered for me to come to D.C. and do a show with Kamala. But even then, it was the same deal. It was only like 45 minutes to an hour.
That's sad that she can't sit there as long as Trump did and just have a conversation. That just shows you how fake she is.
And, it was not on my set. And I said that, look, he did it here. We should probably do it here. Like, if it's possible to do it here. Obviously, when he did it, it had an enormous result. I'm willing to do the same thing for her. I wanted to release both of them on the same day. This was my goal. I was even trying to figure out if there was a way that I could do it. And I even offered to do it late that night. So that
He's trying to bend over backwards to get this interview done. I mean, he's going above and beyond. He doesn't need to do that. He's got the biggest podcast in the fucking world. He doesn't need to do that for her at all. And he's still trying to do that because he wants to give her an equal platform.
The night that Trump came on, I'm like, what if we do her, like when she's done in Texas, if she came here? But no one ever committed to doing it. This is like really important because they keep pretending that I lied or I did this or I did that. They never committed to doing it. We went through, I've got a whole, we have all the receipts, by the way.
Of course.
I have a whole
Of course he does, because he's not a liar.
list of conversations that took place. They never said she was going to do it. So this whole idea that we fucked her over and then we fucked her over for Trump,
Anyone believes that is a complete and total moron.
correct, just not true.
And,
But I think it's someone trying to cover their ass for the fact
Of course it is.
that she never did it, and if she did do it, it might have had a positive effect.
yeah,
If her and I had a good time,
It would have
and
been
we got
worse.
along
She wouldn't
great,
have-
and she won over, the air quote young male vote, things could have been different.
But no, that's the thing is they knew she would be horrible. That's why they never agreed to do it and didn't want to do it.
Who knows? So this guy's probably trying to cover his ass.
That's what I'm thinking too, is because the reaction to her not coming was like pretty big.
But they didn't commit to doing it. This is the thing. While this
Of course they didn't, because they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do any interviews at all. She didn't even take any questions.
guy's saying like that we were difficult to deal with, not true. We were super easy. We made it real clear. But also, it's got to be the actual real show. It shouldn't be some fake version of it where I'm sitting in a conference room. Oh, also, they wanted a stenographer in the room. They wanted staff in the room. They wanted Trump was just in here by himself.
Why would you need all that for an interview? Like, why do you need that? If you're such a strong, independent woman and you can stand on your own, and you're the best candidate running for the presidency, why do you need people holding your hand when you're just sitting down to have a conversation with someone? I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Just me, him, and Jamie. That's it. For 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, they
Trump
wanted
did
to
it.
do everything. They wanted it very controlled, and they were really concerned that it wasn't going to be edited. So I don't think they ever really were sure.
That's disgusting. Why would they need it edited? You can't just have a conversation. You can't just talk. That just shows you how low intelligence she is. And I don't want to hear, well, she's educated. I don't care about being educated. It doesn't mean you're smart or you're intelligent. Some of the most educated people that I've ever met are the stupidest people that I've ever met, who completely lack any type of common sense whatsoever at all.
Sure, they wanted to do it. Then once Trump did it and it had this huge response, I think then it was like, what the fuck? What are we doing? He just did it. It's got 50 fucking million views. This is so stupid. Why didn't we do it? And so then there was, even then, when they offered to do it in D.C., my manager asked, is she committed to doing this? If I bring this to Joe, no, she hasn't committed to doing this. Have you brought this to her? Like, they wouldn't even say whether or not she had expressed willingness to do it or whether they were trying to convince her to do it. We know for sure.
And that honestly doesn't surprise me. Just looking back and seeing how her campaign was ran, it was a complete and total clusterfuck. There's no other way to describe it. And that doesn't surprise me at all, because they probably didn't even know what the fuck they were doing.
Or there were some people that...
Well, no, we know they didn't know what they were doing. They blew through over $1.5 billion and ended up $20 million in debt.
were supposedly on her staff that were against her doing it. They thought it was about... Because, it's a bunch of wokesters. They're basically in a cult.
They are in a cult, exactly.
You have a distribution... Like, if you're willing to go on Fox News, you talk to... What's that guy's name? Brett Breyer?
Yeah.
Where they cut that off after 20 minutes.
Exactly.
When they did that, that's when I was like, look, it's got to be in the studio. It's got to be in the studio, and it's got to be real. It's got to be a real conversation. I had entertained a couple of times going to it, but I was like, 45 minutes is just not enough. You and I have been talking an hour and a half already. Yeah, it's just like, it's not enough time. You need more time. You need more time to find out what makes someone tick.
And that's probably what...
But see, she's so fake, she can't do that. She's not an authentic person. She's just not. She's a manufacturer. She's manufactured by the Democrat Party, basically, and her handlers.
she was afraid of.
Probably what they were afraid of. Maybe not her.
Maybe
I
not
think they
her,
should
yeah.
have been. I think we would have had a good old time.
No, you're...
No, you wouldn't have, because she's not an authentic person. She can't handle a conversation. She couldn't have sat there and had a conversation with you, dude, for 2 or 3 hours. There's just no way. I don't see that happening at all. She doesn't have the capacity to do that.
You're a good guy.
I think we would have had fun.
I think it was a huge mistake on her part. And let's be honest, like it's the kind of thing that it's reminiscent of forget the congressman that asked Mark Zuckerberg how Facebook makes money. It's just like they're so detached from the modern world. It's
Exactly. Very detached.
like you could spend millions of dollars on all your ad campaign all across YouTube, or you could just go sit in the room with Joe for 3 hours, and I'll tell you which one's going to do better for you, lady. But she picked the ad campaigns on YouTube.
The problem is that I think the
And that's another reason that she lost. That and going door to door, knocking at doors. Like this was the 70s or the 80s.
people that saw it as they thought they were going to win anyway, apparently. And the people that saw it as a net.
But see, they thought they were going to win, and I don't know how, because their internal polling told them that they were losing. Their internal polls were way worse than the media polls we were seeing. Or not just the media polls, but the polls that were being put out. They were way worse.
Negative thought, like there's been a few blunders where things didn't go well, but I think a lot of those blunders are. I was listening to this woman on the Tucker Carlson show, and she was talking about what Biden was like during the presidency. And one of the things that she said I thought that was very interesting was that there's many people that worked with Biden that said there were moments in his first couple of years where he was very lucid, and that he would be actually running the meetings, and he had talking points that were written down, but he was having these lucid conversations, and then he would do these public things and he would have blunders. I think a lot of it is just the pressure of performing publicly under intense scrutiny. Like
Then you shouldn't have that job or that position then.
you have to do a live set, like say if you have to do Saturday Night Live or something like that, you're going to do a monologue. The pressure of doing that monologue is so much different than the pressure of just going up at a local comedy club.
Oh, sure.
It's insane. And I think that pressure, Joe Biden, as much as, I'm sure he has a high...
But then you're not built for that job if you can't handle the pressure. That's what it's all about. That's life. Life is pressure.
self-opinion, clearly. When he is confronted by the reality that half the country hates him and thinks he's doing a terrible job, and then he has to talk publicly live, then I think those cognitive problems were sort of elevated.
That makes sense.
I think that's the same with her.
Probably.
So I think
Okay.
that's the same with her when she's on Fox with Brett Breyer. I think it's hostile environments. I think it's large crowds. I think it's a lot of things where you don't get to see the real person.
Yeah, but even with her interviews with the left-wing media, she was horrific and horrible and didn't know what to say. Her 60 Minutes interview, they had to edit it. And they're not supposed to do that. And they lied and said they didn't edit it, but they were caught. And now they're finally releasing the transcript because Trump's suing them. So that's what I'm saying. So she couldn't even sit down with them and have a conversation. So there's no way she could have sat on Rogan for 2 or 3 hours and done it. There's no way. That's why there's a reason she didn't do it.
So that was my goal. My goal was to try to meet the real person. Just like I did with Trump, just try to meet and talk with the real person. And my goal was, what I really wanted to do, we talked about this quite a bit, me and my manager, of doing it on the same day. And my manager, she agreed. She's like, this would be the perfect way to set it up. Like, we both agree, put them both out at the same time, go watch them all, see what you think. That would be the ultimate way to do it. But they never agreed to do it. So all this shit that's in that book that they never talked to us, just not true. Maybe it's someone's trying to preserve their job. Maybe someone's trying to say, hey, it wasn't my fault. They became difficult. No, we didn't become difficult. The other thing was, like, they wanted to do it that Saturday, the day after Trump. And I said, I'll do it, but it has to be at 8:30 a.m. The reason why was I had a podcast already scheduled that was a live UFC podcast.
Exactly.
So we do this thing called Fight Companion. So there was this title fight that was happening in, I think, was it Saudi Arabia? Or was it Dubai or Abu Dhabi? It was somewhere in the Middle East, I believe, if I remember correctly. See if you can find out what that was, just we're clear. I have friends. I flew in 3 of my buddies from California, and we were all going to do this podcast together. Like, we had committed to doing this. Like, they were already in town. Like, I can't just say, no, guys, I can't do this awesome thing because I have to interview Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Seems like I should to some people, but that's because you're...
Absolutely not. You have a job. You have your shit scheduled. You don't need to bow or change anything for anyone else.
You're in the politics business. I'm an MMA commentator. This is part of my job.
Exactly.
And I said I would do it. I said I'll do it, but it has to be like 8:30 in the morning because I have to be done by the time the fights start. That's reasonable.
She wouldn't have had enough wine in her yet.
They didn't do that either. So this idea
Because they didn't care. They didn't want to do it. They know that she was a horrible candidate. They know that.
that I sabotaged her, there's a bunch of people that say I fucked her over or whatever. Like, that's not
Those people are idiots if they think that or they're saying that. Those people are idiots.
true. So you can think whatever you want, but it was Abu Dhabi. So that was Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. So for UFC fans, just so you know, for people listening that aren't UFC fans, that was a huge fight. That was a gigantic fight. Max Holloway just beat Justin Gaethje in like literally the knockout of all time. And Ilia Topuria is one of the absolute best fighters on planet Earth, if not number one pound for pound, certainly number two, or number three. So he's in the top 5 of the absolute best athletes in any weight class. So this was a clash of the titans, the greatest featherweight champion of all time versus the current featherweight champion. So I'm not going to miss that.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to. That's ridiculous.
It's me. I understand. I work around you. I said I would do it at night. I'll come back. I'll do it at midnight. I don't give a fuck. I'll do it. So it wasn't me fucking
No, it's not him. They didn't want to do it. Plain and simple.
someone over. And
if Kamala's in charge, if she wanted to do it, she could have been like, no, we're doing this. I'm doing this. I don't care. Make it happen. Set up a date.
And so just whoever's in charge
I know why that's
of
difficult.
spreading that narrative, that's deceptive.
Yeah. And she missed out, man. She could have sat in the same chair that Shane Gillis sat in.
Yes. No, he
One of
sits in
these
that
two.
one.
Or
Or it could have been a wreck. But it could have been a wreck with Trump, too.
It would have been a wreck with her. It would have been a huge wreck with her.
You know, like there was a moment where me and Trump I was saying, tell me how the 2020 election was stolen. Like, and I feel like if you're, for the last 4 years, have been telling everybody that they robbed you, you should be able to tell people how you know they robbed you, and you should be able to say,
articulate it, yeah.
yes,
Clearly.
You know,
Clearly.
so I don't know what that's about. I don't know if he has other people that tell him that. Is he compartmentalized? Like, look, hey, Rudy Giuliani, you deal with that. I got other shit to deal with. I'm going to deal with this. You tell me they robbed me, I'm going to say they robbed me.
There was a
That
lot
could
of
be it.
I don't know.
fuckery
I don't know.
in
But
the election.
so that could have gone sideways, but it didn't.
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
didn't.
So yeah, let me know what you think. I think Kamala, like I said, watching this, I think she personally did not want to do it because she was scared. And she knew she couldn't sit there and be authentic and make it through an interview longer than 20 or 30 minutes, especially without her staff in the room. And that's why her staff needed to be in the room, because they know she's incompetent and she wouldn't have been able to do it. So if she can't even go on Joe Rogan and do a 2 or 3 hour sit-down interview conversation, there's no way in hell that she's running a country. And thankfully, we dodged a nuclear weapon by not getting her elected. Let me know what everybody thinks in the comment section. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. Give me a follow on X at MiddleGuy7, and I'll see everybody soon. Thank you.